Hi, I'm Bridget with PotomacBeads.com. Join me today in creating this crochet bracelet. If you need any of the materials, they were listed in the beginning of this video, as well as down below beneath me. There is in the description area a list of exact colors I used, as well as links to both PotomacBeads.com and PotomacBeads.eu. So gather up all your materials and come create with me. So to start this crochet bracelet, I have my 6mm gemstones along with my ZoliDuos here, and I'm using 2 needles on either end of just a 0.006 Wildfire. And I am using my size 12 needles because at the end I will be going through 15-ohs, so just to make sure that I can fit through those, I'm using my smaller needles. What's nice about this project is if you're familiar with the ZoliDuos, you know they have the right version and the left version, all depending on whichever way they kind of curve towards. So I'm using all the right version, so you can kind of see in this example that they, on either side of these 6mm, they kind of hug that 6mm round. But what's nice about it is if you only have lefts, you can use the ZoliDuo left as well, and it's not going to change up the way the bracelet looks or anything. So whichever side, either the right or the left you choose, that's quite fine, and you'll be able to use either way. So you won't have to worry about, you know, getting them confused if I'm using the right now or the left now, since they're all going to be that same version. And then with the 6mm gemstones, to fit my wrist, which is going to end up being a 6.5-inch bracelet, including the clasp, I need 23 of these rounds. So what I've already kind of picked and chose from my strand of gemstones, I picked the ones that I liked and the ones that kind of spoke to me, that have those fun different color variations in there. So before you get started, you can kind of pick out and see if you want all of them to look similar or if you want them to look different. You can kind of choose which ones that you want. So to start, I'm going to pick up just one of my needles and go through one of the 6mm gemstones and just pull that down towards the end. And then with both needles, I'm going to go through the smaller part, kind of that tail end of the Zoli. And on each of them, I'm going through from the curved side out. So when I pull those down, they'll go right alongside my round and just kind of hug that gemstone. And once we get going and get this a little tighter, they'll fall a bit nicer. But you can kind of see how that's going to look there. So from here, let me kind of get this so that I can show you a little easier which needle to use. So from here, I'm going to use my right needle, and I'm going to pick up another ZoliDuo. Let me place this needle over here until I need it. And I'm going to go through the thicker part of the ZoliDuo, and again from the inside curve out. So I'm going to go through that kind of rounder, thicker part of my Zoli, and I'm going to go back just through that same one through the top. And I'm going to pick up another gemstone at this point. Let me kind of pick that. So again, going through the tail end of that Zoli and picking up a gemstone. And I'll pull this tight. And again, this kind of first stitch, it's kind of the hardest because it's not tight and it's all kind of moving around first. So we have that. And from here, still with the same right needle that I've been working with, I'm going to go through the small end, so the tail end of a Zoli, again from the inside curve out. And so that's going to line up against my second gemstone. And I'm going to put this needle down and switch over to my left side needle. So from here, we're still kind of on that first line with this needle. So I'm going to go through my ZoliDuo. So this is one of the first ZoliDuos that we added. I'm coming out of the tail end and I'm going to go up through that thicker end, as well as this ZoliDuo that I just added. I'm going to go through that tail end towards the gemstone. So if you can see, I'm going to make these tighter so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going through this thick end and then through the tail end and the gemstone, and coming out of the ZoliDuo on the opposite side. And I can go ahead, and this is where you'll kind of start seeing it, and you can pull on both strands to kind of get that tight, and so you'll start seeing what we're actually doing. If you're familiar, this is similar, kind of a variation to a right angle weave, kind of a double needle right angle weave. And so from here, what we're gonna do is, with my right side needle, so this is the one I was just using, which is now on the right side of my project, I'm gonna add a ZoliDuo, and I'm gonna go through the thick end from the inside curve out, and that'll land just above the other Zoli. And I'm gonna go through the tail end here, and then add one of my rounds, and then add a ZoliDuo from the inside curve out, and that's through the thinner tail end. So anytime we're adding the Zoli, we're always going to be going through from the inside curve. So it's kind of an easy way to remember not to add it on upside down or backwards. You're always going to be adding from the inside curve. So that's, now I'm done with this needle. I'm going to switch to the needle that was on my left side, and here I am still again on the row below. So if you can see, I just came out of this ZoliDuo here. So I'm going to pull up from my left hand side, going through that top hole in the ZoliDuo, and then through that tail end of the Zoli we just added. So I'm going to go through both Zolis and then go straight on through my gemstone and out the opposite side through that tail end on the Zoli. And at this point is where you can kind of pull on both sides to tighten that up. So it's a little complicated while you're working to tighten, since you're working kind of with both needles, but once you're done one of the stitches, that's when you can tighten it. And then that's basically what we're going to keep going until you have your desired length. So you're always going to be coming out of your ZoliDuo, and then you'll add on with the right hand side through that thicker round part of the ZoliDuo, and again going through that curved inside out. and then you'll jump up to that next hole through the tail. And we'll go ahead and add on one of the gemstones. And we can pull that tight. And then we'll add on another Zoli going through the tail end from the inside curve out. And from there, we'll switch needles to the left-hand needle, which again, we're still on that row underneath. So we'll jump up to that second hole, going through the tail end of the ZoliDuo that we just added, and going straight through the gemstone and coming out of the ZoliDuo on the opposite end. And again, once you're out, that's when you can kind of tighten it up. So again, we're gonna just keep going this until you have your desired length. I'll kind of come back in the middle to kind of go over it again until we're up at the end. Okay, so I just put on my last row here. And so I have my thread coming out from the bottom of this ZoliDuo and the top of this ZoliDuo up here. So using my right hand needle, what I'm gonna do is, and I just poured out my 15-0s here, and these are the Toho gold lined African Sunset. And again, these are the 15s. And so what I'm doing is adding them along the side of all of my ZoliDuos. So coming out of here, I'm gonna add 4 to my needle and just going into that bottom hole of my Zoli. And I'm just going through that one ZoliDuo. So you can see it goes just around the edge. So coming out here, I'm gonna add 4 more. And again, just going down into that bottom hole. So again, adding 4. And going into that bottom hole of the ZoliDuo. So you can see it's kind of creating this little embellishment along the edge here. So we'll kind of keep doing that around the edge. Again, it's just 4 15s. And then going into that bottom ZoliDuo. Okay? Okay, so I've just finished my one side. As you can see, those 15s all along there. And I'm gonna come, so I just came out of my ZoliDuo up here. And I'm gonna add 6 seed beads. And what I'm gonna do is go in between my 6mm bead and my ZoliDuo and just get in and go through that ZoliDuo. Kind of pull that so you have a little bit of kind of space there. And at the end, what I'm gonna do is this is where I'm gonna put my clasp. I'm using a tube clasp, so I'll just be using jump rings and connecting my clasp on either side of my bracelet to that little kind of line there. So going forward, I have the opposite side of my bracelet, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing along this side. So again, I'm coming out of my ZoliDuo at the kind of tail end, that thinner part, and I'm gonna add 4 of my seed beads. And then just going through that thicker part of my Zoli. And then again, adding 4 of my seed beads. And going through my Zoli here. And so we'll just keep going up this end, or this side of my bracelet up until the end. And then I'll show you how we're going to add on that tube clasp once we're finally done. Oops. All right, so I'll meet you at the end. All right, so here I am on the other side, and I've just finished all my 15s along the edges. So I'm coming out of the ZoliDuo up here at the top. So I'm gonna add, and again, this other needle is just kind of been hanging out here. So we've been using the same needle along both sides of my bracelet. So what I'm gonna do is add my 6 seed beads here. And then go through in between my gemstone and my ZoliDuo. I'm gonna go through the ZoliDuo. And kind of pull that a little tight there. And then what I'm gonna do is with this needle, I'm gonna go through my 15s, through my Zoli, and up around till I meet this tail end, and I can tie the knot together over there. So I'm just gonna kind of work through where I've already been. Go through my Zoli here, and through my Zoli down here, and then through my gemstone, back up around through this Zoli. You can kind of see so through, just got tangled. So through my gemstone here, and through that Zoli, just the first one. And I can go through those 15s. Along the edge. And then through that Zoli, and then I've met up with my second needle, and I can go ahead and just tie it off there. So I'll take these needles off. And actually what I'm going to do is just put this thread onto the other side and tie the knot over here. I'm just going to pull that thread up, just so the knot's a little hidden on the back side. It's just your regular knot since I have 2 threads there. And then I'll burn down the extra. So here we have my almost finished bracelet. And like I said, we're gonna use, or I'm gonna use a tube clasp here, just a 2-strand. If you want to use a another kind of clasp or a cup button, you can definitely do that as well. So what I have are, I'm just gonna need 4 jump rings here. And I'll go ahead and open these up. And I'm just gonna feed them through the end part that we made with the seed beads. So I have 1. And then again, just loop it through those seed beads and then through that tube clasp. There we go. And so we'll just do that to the other side. And what I like to do is keep it closed so that you don't accidentally, when you're working with the tube clasps, so you don't accidentally attach it the wrong side. So then you know which way it needs to go. So for this, it needs to be facing that way. So you get my jump rings. And just the same as we did on the other side. Let's feed it through and go ahead and close that. Oops. And then the last one. Oh, that one didn't close all the way. Make sure that's tight. There we go. And then this last one here. And there we go. So we have that. And there we go. We're all set with that crocheted bracelet. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed creating your own crochet bracelet. Remember, if you need to purchase any of these materials or you just want to see the exact colors that I used, they are listed down below me in the description area, along with links to both PotomacBeads.com and PotomacBeads.eu. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to be kept up to date with any new tutorials, designs, or just new products that we have. And remember, we'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see how this inspired you and how you made this design your own. So until next time, bye-bye.